Hi everybody, this is your narrator Ali, and I hope you are ready to relax to our story today. Tonight we arrive at the fourth and final chapter of the life of Prophet Musa. Moses, peace be upon him, where the hearts of his people are tested one last time, where he journeys beside a hidden sage, and where his own story comes to a gentle close at the edge of the land he longed to reach. Chapter 1 70 Hearts Shaken on the Mountain. After the great trials of the golden calf and the wandering in the wilderness, Musa chose 70 of the best men from among the children of Israel and led them back to Mount Sinai. There, in the valley of rocky slopes and desert wind, Allah allowed these elders to hear Musa speaking with his Lord. They listened as words moved between heaven and earth, an honor unlike any they had ever known. One might think that witnessing such nearness would soften every heart, yet some among them felt dissatisfied. Their souls were still tied to what could be seen and touched. They demanded to see Allah clearly with their own eyes before they would fully believe. It was a bold and reckless request, born from hardness more than from longing. The mountain shook, thunder cracked through the sky, and a violent quake seized the earth beneath them. Blinding bolts of power struck, and in an instant the 70 fell, as if life had been torn from their bodies. Silence descended upon the mountain, broken only by the wind. Chapter 2 A Prophet's Plea and a Mercy. Embracing all, Musa looked upon the lifeless forms of the men he had chosen and felt grief wash over him. He called on his Lord, acknowledging that if Allah had willed, he could have destroyed them and him long before. He asked whether all should be lost for the foolish words of some, recognizing that trials in this world separate those who are sincere from those who are heedless. He begged forgiveness and mercy, calling upon Allah as their protector and guardian. He asked for goodness in this life and in the next, declaring that he and his people had turned back toward their Lord after their missteps. Allah responded with a declaration that his punishment touches whom he wills, but his mercy covers all things. That mercy, he said, would be written for those who are mindful of him, who give charity, and who believe in his signs. In that promise lay a glimpse of the future. Allah mentioned a coming messenger, unlettered but described in the earlier scriptures, who would call people to what is right and forbid what is wrong, making pure things lawful and relieving heavy burdens laid upon previous communities. Those who believed in this final prophet, honored him, helped him, and followed the light sent down with him would be truly successful. Then, by Allah's leave, the elders who had fallen were restored to life. They rose shaken, having tasted the border between this world and the next, and returned to their people bearing both warning and hope. Chapter 3 The Hidden Cow and the Hardened Hearts. Musa remained among the children of Israel, calling them continually to Allah. Yet their souls often showed a strange unease, as if old habits and doubts lay just beneath the surface. One such episode unfolded in what became known as the story of the cow. Among them lived a pious man of modest means. He earned only what was lawful and did everything sincerely for Allah's sake. On his deathbed, he entrusted his wife, young son, and a single calf to the care of Allah, instructing his wife to release the calf into the forest so that greedy people could not seize it. Years passed. When the boy grew up, His mother told him about his father's trust, that somewhere in the wilderness, the calf, now a cow, waited under Allah's protection. She urged her son to trust as his father had trusted. The young man took a rope and went to the forest. He prostrated and asked Allah, the Lord of the prophets before him, to return his father's trust. When he lifted his head, a cow approached him gently and stood still by his side. It allowed itself to be led only by him. He brought it home, and it became his most precious possession. He was as righteous as his father, dividing his earnings into 3 parts, one for his mother, one for himself, and one for charity, and dividing his nights between serving her, worship, and rest. At another time in the same community, a wealthy man died, leaving his fortune to a single young heir. Some envious relatives murdered the youth in secret, hoping to snatch the inheritance, and then came to Musa asking him to discover the killer. Musa received a command from Allah. The people were to slaughter a cow, and a sign connected to this sacrifice would expose the murderer. When he relayed this, they accused him of making fun of them. Musa sought refuge from being counted among fools and repeated the command. Instead of obeying at once, they delayed with questions. What kind of cow? What age? What color? What exact condition? Each time, Moses received a more detailed description from Allah. A cow neither too young nor too old, bright yellow, pleasing to the eye, not broken to plow or water the fields, free of blemishes. At last it became clear that only one cow matched these specifications, the cow belonging to the orphaned youth. They approached him and asked to buy it. He deferred to his mother. At first they offered a modest sum. She refused. Their offers rose higher, and each time she declined. Finally, the son said he would not sell without her full approval, even if they filled the cow's hide with gold. Hearing this, she agreed that such should be the price. Desperate and knowing there was no other cow that would suffice, they accepted. After the sacrifice, Musa was instructed to strike the murdered young man with part of the cow. By Allah's will, he rose, named his killers, and then returned to death. The truth stood manifest. Yet, despite witnessing a dead man speak, many hearts grew only more resistant. The Quran would later describe their condition. Hearts turned like stone, or even harder. For there are stones from which water springs and stones that fall in awe of Allah. But some human hearts resist even that level of softness. Chapter 4. At the junction of 2 seas. Time passed. One day, Musa delivered a deeply moving sermon, and afterward someone asked him whether there was any man on earth more knowledgeable than he. Confident in the revelation he had been given and the honor of speaking directly with Allah, Musa answered that there was none. Soon after, Allah revealed to him that knowledge is vast and shared among many servants. There was, he informed Musa, a servant at the junction of 2 seas who had been granted a special kind of wisdom that Musa did not possess. Musa, eager to learn, asked how he might meet this man. He was told to take a live fish in a container and travel until he reached the meeting point of 2 bodies of water. Wherever the fish escaped, that would be the sign. Musa set out with a young companion who carried the vessel. They traveled until they reached a rocky spot where 2 seas joined and decided to rest. While Musa slept, the fish stirred, slipped into the water, and swam away along a path that the sea itself seemed to hold open. The companions saw it, but later forgot to mention it. They continued their journey until fatigue and hunger set in. Musa asked for their meal, and only then did the young man recall the vanished fish. He apologized, blaming his forgetfulness on the whispers of Satan, and described how the fish had taken an astonishing path into the sea. Musa recognized the sign at once. "That is what we were seeking," he said, and together they retraced their steps back to the place where the fish had escaped. There, by the shore, they found a man partly wrapped in a cloak, seated in quiet contemplation. This was Al-Khidr, a servant of Allah, to whom mercy and hidden knowledge had been given. Chapter 5. A Journey of Patience and Perplexity. Musa greeted Al-Khidr and introduced himself as the prophet of the children of Israel. He respectfully asked to accompany him in order to learn some of the knowledge Allah had granted him. Al-Khidr warned him that he would not be able to remain patient, for the events ahead would appear deeply troubling to a law-bearing prophet who judged by outward appearances. Musa promised to be patient, adding that he would not object to anything Al-Khidr did until it was explained. With that agreement, they set off together. Soon they came to the shore and boarded a boat whose owners recognized Al-Khidr and allowed them passage without fee. As they sailed, a small bird perched on the edge and dipped its beak into the sea once or twice. Al-Khidr pointed to it and remarked to Musa that the knowledge granted to both of them, compared to Allah's knowledge, was like the tiny amount of water taken by that bird from the vast ocean. Then, unexpectedly, Al-Khidr damaged the boat. He loosened a plank, leaving a flaw in its hull. Musa was stunned. The owners had shown them hospitality, and now their livelihood was at risk. He protested that this act could drown innocent people and was a terrible deed. Al-Khidr reminded him of their agreement and gently reproached his lack of patience. Musa apologized, explaining that he had forgotten and asked not to be blamed. They continued on until they encountered a group of children at play. Al-Khidr singled out one boy and, by Allah's command, took his life. The scene shocked Musa. He cried out in horror, "How could an innocent child be killed without any crime?" Again, Al-Khidr reminded him that he had said Musa would not be able to bear what he witnessed. This time, Musa promised that if he questioned anything further, Al-Khidr should part ways with him. They went on until they reached a town whose inhabitants refused them even a simple meal. Despite this cold reception, Al-Khidr noticed a crumbling wall on the verge of collapse and repaired it with his own hands. Musa felt confusion and frustration. These people had offered them nothing, yet Al-Khidr had given them unpaid labor. He remarked that they could at least have asked for food in exchange. At that, Al-Khidr announced that this would be the point of separation between them. But before they parted, he would explain the hidden meaning behind each act. Chapter 6. Behind the Events, Wisdom Revealed. Al-Khidr unfolded the tapestry of God's wisdom. The boat, he explained, belonged to poor fishermen who earned their living on the sea. Ahead of them was a tyrant king who seized every sound vessel by force. By leaving a visible defect in the boat, he ensured that it would be spared and could later be repaired by its rightful owners. The boy, he said, had a future that Allah alone knew. If he had grown to adulthood, he would have been a trial of rebellion and disbelief for his believing parents. By taking him in childhood and granting them another child in his place, more pure and compassionate, Allah had been merciful both to the boy and to his family. As for the wall, it sheltered a treasure hidden beneath it, belonging to two orphan boys in that unwelcoming town. Their father had been a righteous man, and by maintaining the wall until the boys reached maturity, Allah preserved what was rightfully theirs from greedy hands. None of these acts, Al-Khidr concluded, had been done from his own desire. He was merely carrying out what Allah had commanded, operating from knowledge that Musa had not been given. For Musa, the lessons were clear. Even a prophet who speaks directly with Allah does not hold all wisdom. Human judgment, based only on the surface of events, often fails to grasp the mercy woven through hardship. With that, the two servants parted, Musa returning to his people, Al-Khidr continuing along his hidden path. Chapter 7, A Prophet's Wounds and a Stone that Ran. Throughout his life, Musa carried not only the burden of leadership, but also the sting of personal harm from his own people. They questioned his decisions, resisted his guidance, and even spread rumors about his body. Because of his great modesty, Musa bathed alone and kept himself covered, which led some among the Israelites to whisper that he must have a physical defect, a skin disease, or some hidden flaw that he was ashamed to reveal. Allah chose to clear his prophet of these slanders in a remarkable way. One day, while Musa was alone and bathing, he placed his clothes upon a large stone. As he washed, the stone, by Allah's will, moved away, carrying his garments. Musa rushed after it, calling out for it to stop. In doing so, he ran past a group of his people without any covering, and they saw that he was in perfect physical form, free of all the defects they had imagined. He caught the stone and struck it with his staff in indignation. Narrations say that marks remained upon it. Through this, Allah cleared Musa of their accusations and honored his dignity in the sight of those who had wronged him with their tongues. The Quran would later warn the believers not to be like those who hurt Musa, for Allah exonerated him, and he was precious in his sight. Chapter 8, The Last Days of Two Brothers. Aaron, Musa's brother and companion in prophethood, passed away before Musa himself. Traditions relate that he died while the children of Israel were still wandering in the wilderness. His death added another layer of sorrow to Musa's already burdened heart. Yet Musa continued, calling, guiding, and enduring. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, would later recall that Musa suffered more harm from his people than many could imagine, yet he remained patient, a model for every leader facing slander and resistance. Then the time came when even prophets must answer the call that spares no soul, the call of death. The angel of death was sent to Musa. When the angel appeared before him, Musa, not recognizing him in that moment, or perhaps reacting instinctively as a man who had defended his people all his life, struck him. The angel returned to his Lord and reported what had happened. Allah, who knows his servants better than they know themselves, sent the angel again with a different message. He told Musa that he could choose. He might place his hand upon the back of an ox, and for every hair beneath his palm, he would live one additional year. Musa asked what would come after those years. Death, came the reply. So Musa chose not to delay what could not be escaped. He asked instead that when his soul was taken, it be near the Holy Land, within a stone's throw, so that even in death he would lie close to the place his people had been promised, though he himself would not enter it in life. the Prophet Muhammad, later told his companions that if he were standing with them in that region, he would show them Musa's resting place beside a small red sand hill by the road. Musa, the one spoken to directly by Allah, departed this world with a heart that had fought for justice, borne the weight of a stubborn people, and remained loyal to his Lord through every trial. Closing reflection: knowing our place in the story of knowledge. In this final part of Musa's story, we have watched him ascend mountains with chosen companions, only to see them demand the impossible. We have followed him into the forest, where a hidden cow and a resurrected youth exposed murder. We have walked by his side along the shore of two seas, where a fisherman's boat, a child's fate, and a crumbling wall revealed that what looks bitter can be mercy in disguise. We saw how even the best people can harbor doubts, how hearts can become harder than stone despite witnessing miracles, and how a prophet himself can be reminded that knowledge belongs ultimately to Allah alone. Musa's life is a tapestry woven from power and humility, anger for truth and patience with weakness, majestic miracles, and very human wounds. He challenged a tyrant, split a sea, and carried tablets of law, yet he also chased a runaway stone, clutching his clothes, endured rumors about his body, and asked gentle questions of a mysterious guide who knew what he did not. As you drift toward sleep, perhaps ask yourself, where in Musa's final chapters do you find a mirror for your own life? Do you see yourself in the 70 who demanded to see what should be believed without sight? In the people who questioned every detail of the cow before obeying a simple command? In Musa, humbled before Al-Khidr, learning that some painful events hide protection? Or in the prophet at the end of his journey, calmly accepting that even a life filled with divine conversation must one day submit to the decree of returning? Wherever you are, remember that Allah's punishment is precise, but His mercy truly embraces all things. He clears His servants of slander, guides them to teachers they did not expect, and grants them at the end a meeting that makes every trial worthwhile. This is your narrator, Ali, thanking you for staying with me through all 4 parts of Musa's story, and wishing you a heart that accepts what it cannot see, trusts in wisdom it does not yet understand, and walks steadily toward its own appointed meeting with the one who spoke to Moses on the mountain. For more stories that can help you relax, don't forget to like and subscribe.